3 years ago, two NFL teams were found completely lost and in need of a complete reset. The Rams and Eagles both finished the 2015 season at 7-9, even after swapping star QBs Nick Foles and Sam Bradford before the season. Many argued that they both just needed a change of scenery, but this didn't work, obviously. Even after the trade, both teams were looking for a franchise QB. Today I'm going to start with the Eagles. Why were the Eagles forced to pick a quarterback, and why did they pick Wentz? To start off, I'd like to let you know that I've been a vocal quarterback of Carson Wentz, mainly because I think the Eagles could have gotten way more back for him, and they found that Nick Foles could be a starting quarterback. He fits with Doug Peterson's system, and they basically just let him walk for nothing, but I digress, and let's get into the purpose of this video. Let's rewind the clock to 2012. Nick Foles was drafted 88th overall in the 2012 draft by the Eagles, 13 spots behind Russell Wilson. Despite starting the season 3-1, the team failed to improve on their 8-8 season from 2011 and went 1-11 in their final 12 games. They suffered their worst season in 14 years and by only winning 4 games, and those 4 games were only won by 3 points or less. 2012 was a disaster. Michael Vick went down in Week 10 with a concussion, and Nick Foles was forced in the lineup when many argued that he wasn't ready yet. Andy Reid also got fired after his 14-year tenure, and things were looking really bad. But there was hope. Chip Kelly, a West Coast hurry-up-style, offensive-minded coach, was hired, and the Eagles went from worst to first in 2013. The Eagles lost to the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs, but everybody was looking forward to the next year because they were looking at this team and what they could accomplish. Nick Foles was a bright spot on this team as he produced 27 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. LeSean McCoy also won the rushing title and was poised to set the Eagles' all-time rushing record. However, 2014 was a bit of a disappointment as the 10-6 record wasn't good enough to surpass the 12-4 Cowboys in the division or the 11-5 Cowboys and Cardinals for the wild card. Foles also dropped up this season at 13 touchdowns and 10 interceptions before he got injured in Week 9 and the season completely fell apart. They were actually looking pretty good this season. Started the season off 6-2. Anyway, so the 2015 Philadelphia Eagles started off with an odd purge of players. Things were not right. Chip Kelly was coming into the season after 2-16 seasons, but he didn't have any playoff wins. Also, owner Jeff Lurie gave Chip complete control of the roster and personnel after these 2 seasons, which proved to be a big mistake. In 2015, Nick Foles was planned to come back stronger than ever. Many thought they can contend for a Super Bowl this season because 9 Pro Bowlers were potentially returning by the names of Jason Kelly, Jason Peters, Connor Barwin, LeSean McCoy, and Darren Sproles. There was only one problem that could be traced back to even before the season. Deshaun Jackson, coming off what most believed was his most successful season, had all of a sudden been released. There were rumblings about gang-related stuff, but obviously that had no impact on his game on the field because that was his best season up to date. Deshaun Jackson would ultimately be signed by the rival Redskins as a free agent, a sign of sour grapes and maybe revenge. Many looked at this decision in confusion because he was playing so well, but looking back, it makes so much sense. Maybe it was money problems, maybe maybe style problems, who knows. Eagles signed Alejandro Villanueva, who served in Afghanistan the previous 3 years and had been off the football field the past 5. Why would they sign this guy who hadn't played in so long? This purge of players continued in 2015 when LeSean McCoy was traded to the Bills. Chip Kelly, like I mentioned before, was the general manager, and boy did he flex his muscles. Chip Kelly cut or traded several prominent starters, such as Nick Foles, who he traded with the Rams, like I mentioned before. They also traded Evan Mattis, Trent Cole, and they let their star receiver Jeremy Maclin leave in free agency. Kelly brought in new players like Sam Bradford, Byron Maxwell, Kiko Alonso, and rushing champion DeMarco Murray, who was believed to better fit into their system. This enraged fans as they thought they were competing for a title. Why blow it all up when things were looking so good? What didn't help was that going into Week 8 of the 2015 season, they saw themselves 3-4. Chip Kelly's offense seemed to not be working.
Let's hold up for a second. I know based on what I'm saying, a lot of you may think, oh, Chip Kelly was this ultra villain coming into the season, but many trusted him. Like the management, they gave him all this power for a reason. It wasn't just because, hey, we have no idea what we're doing. They thought that Chip Kelly could actually fix this team. I mean, why not? He was successful up until that point. He knew LaShawn McCoy, hey, he's declining just a little bit. Let's get some value for him. He's counting $12 million against the cap. And a lot of people argue that this roster actually got better. The main problem, I think, with this roster was Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford didn't fit into his system. Also,
Even though the offense under Bradford was pretty successful, ranking 12th in the league, the defense struggled and was hovering near bottom 5 the entire year. The talent on this team suggested they were a top 10 defense, but they weren't performing so. Not to mention, the average drive lasted a tick over 2 minutes for the offense, which ranked dead last in the league. The offense was also turning the ball over at an alarming rate, at third worst in the league that year. After Week 8, of course, rumors started to swirl. There were people on TV ripping Chip Kelly and calling him names, some saying he was a wannabe Belichick. But he wasn't Belichick. Was it narcissism? Racism? I don't know, but definitely the hire of DeMarco Murray and a couple other black players, I don't think it was racism. His thoughts were my way or the highway. His two 10-6 seasons enabled the Eagles to believe he was the best for the team. The 2-5 Cowboys were hosting them in a Week 9 game, and with a win, they could leapfrog in a division that was begging to be taken by somebody. The Giants were 4-4. The Redskins were 3-4, like the Eagles. And Dallas, Dallas, they were on their third starting QB after Tony Romo went down due to a collarbone injury. This was the chance for the Eagles to take the division, and, they did. They won in overtime against the Cowboys. Not the prettiest of wins, but it'll do. The Eagles were on pace to win 2 out of 3 division titles under Chip Kelly. This would have been amazing. There's only one problem, though. Week 10, the Eagles were up 16-13 at home against the Dolphins and added to the long injury list because in the third quarter, Sam Bradford suffered a concussion. They would proceed to put Mark Sanchez in, who threw an interception in the fourth quarter, and eventually the Eagles lost that game. To make things worse, the Eagles also lost the next 2 games at a score of 45-17 and 45-14. Their defense lost all hope going into Week 13, especially at 4-7. But with that record, they were only 1 game behind the Redskins and the Giants for first place, and Sam Bradford was back. All is well. Let's see which team they can beat up on this week. Oh, it's the Patriots. Tom Brady's about to fall off a cliff, so they should be good. Well, wait, the Patriots are 10-1? Well, at least they'll be playing at home. Wait, it's in Foxborough? Well, season over. It's fun while it's lasted. Let's just mail it in because we're not beating them at home, especially in December. But they did. Jordan Matthews caught a 10-yard pass from Sam Bradford to take a 35-14 lead in the fourth quarter, and the Eagles didn't look back. They almost blew the lead. They tried to, but with 26 seconds and 4th and 10, Tom Brady threw an incompletion. There was a 3-way tie for first place, and the Eagles were looking strong again. Week 14 rolled around, and all three teams won. 3-way tie again. Week 15 came, and the Cardinals showed no mercy on the Eagles as they beat the Eagles 40-17 at home. Well, the Eagles were at home. A win from the Redskins put the Eagles 1 game down in the East, but they can easily fix this by beating the Redskins the following week, and they lost. Now, no one believed in the team anymore, and that's what got Kelly fired. His smartest person in the room mentality proved too much for this historical franchise, which, by the way, hadn't won a Super Bowl at the time. Just saying. After Week 16 loss to the rival Skins, Chip Kelly was fired because, 1, it got them eliminated for the playoffs and against the Redskins, a division rival, and 2, it was at home. They had no clear path forward at this point. Chip Kelly just tore apart the entire team's core with nothing to show. Nick Foles, gone. Matt Barkley, gone. Was Mark Sanchez their future? Or injury-riddled Bradford? Yeah, let's not go there. With the 13th overall pick in the 2016 draft, something had to change. In comes the draft. On January 18th, 2016, Doug Peterson was hired as the head coach of the Eagles, but many questioned this hiring. He was an Andy Reid disciple who moved along with Andy Reid to Kansas City when Andy Reid got fired in 2012. The knocks were that he was never a good football player, although he did win a Super Bowl against the Patriots with the Green Bay Packers, but he was on the bench. He didn't have any head coach experience either, really, because he started off being a high school coach in Louisiana. Peterson was a joke of the head coaching class in 2016 when the ESPN and USA Today ranked him dead last among head coaching hires that year. He used this as motivation to prove people wrong, though. Following a decision on April 14, 2016, when the Rams moved up to first overall, the Eagles a week later traded to number 2 overall, swapping with the Browns and a couple other picks I'll mention in a later video to be mentioned. They were in position to secure a quarterback for the future. With Alonzo and Maxwell now gone because of the trade that the Eagles used actually to move up from 13 to 8, and then from the trade they used it from 8 to 2, they were pretty much gone of all talent. Wow, look at what the Eagles gave up for Wentz. Was it worth it? Was this a cliffhanger for a different video? You'll find out soon. Anyway, let's look at Wentz, who was drafted by the Eagles. Apparently Peterson wasn't in love with Wentz and preferred Goff, but there were rumblings that if Goff was taken first, that they would actually move back down to maybe somebody who liked Wentz and gotten some value. Especially since they already had $34 million invested at the quarterback position and players like Chase Daniel and Bradford. Plus, they needed more than just a quarterback because Chip Kelly completely destroyed this team, according to many, and they had very little talent, especially with DeMarco Murray, who seems shot at this point. There was a huge drop-off according to scouts in talent from Goff and Wentz to the rest of the field. Obviously, Dak Prescott was an outlier in the group because he ended up winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2016, so obviously there wasn't a huge drop-off, but there also were other players in that draft who weren't that good. But let's just get back into the point of the video. I think the Eagles were actually starting to be content as time went on with picking Wentz as the days led up to the draft and the hours started ticking by, and they realized that Wentz was their quarterback of the future. The physical qualities were about the same between the two, but Wentz looked more prototypical and was slightly more built and more of an athlete than Goff. The only knock against Wentz was that he was going to have a tough time accumulating to the NFL speed because he didn't even play D1 football. However, in the combine, his draft stock increased by a lot, like a tech stock or something, because his athleticism and his deep ball were in full effect. His intangibles and natural instincts on the field were on display, and many thought he could be a franchise guy. The last guy like this to be taken so high was a guy named Joe Flacco. This actually gave confidence for the Eagles because it's like, oh, if Joe Flacco can do it, anybody can do it. Ask anyone now, by the way, and they think that Joe Flacco is the second coming of Ryan Leaf, but that's a different subject. Okay, so that's it for part 1. I'm still deciding how this whole series is going to go off, but I'm planning on the next video of why did the Rams draft Jared Goff and kind of this format style, but basically with the Rams. And then I'm probably going to compare who won the trade between the Browns and the Eagles and Rams and Tennessee, but I'm not sure if that'll be interesting enough, so I might just go to the who's the better quarterback, Goff or Wentz, but we'll decide. I still haven't done the research of those videos. Anyway, if you like this video, let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, any and all opinions will be appreciated, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.